Good morning. How you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Business School. Now, I wanted to talk to you about something that I was just reading today. It has to do with racism. I was reading it this morning. It's pretty early, but I got up early because I'm getting ready to. We're taking our Black Economic Empowerment Tour to Kansas City on April 22nd. Next, we're going to Baltimore, and then we're going to Philadelphia, Houston, New Orleans, and a few other places, Las Vegas, New York City as well. So we're making plans. We're making plans on talking to the world and trying to see what we can figure out. And the tour, which is being sponsored by the BlackBusinessSchool.com, is really designed to kind of talk about some of the racism that many of us experience day to day, ways to escape that racism, just how deep and how serious and how insidious the torture is that we receive from white people when they punish us for being too radical because maybe we believe Black Lives Matter, or because we believe that Trayvon Martin shouldn't have gotten shot, or because we believe in reparations, or maybe we believe in creating or getting rid of the wealth and employment disparities, or we believe in dealing with the incarceration issue, or we believe that there's a problem with police brutality. All of these things, from my experience, from what I've seen, are the kind of things that get you in trouble when you go to work. These are the things that can have you labeled in such a way that we literally go through life. In some cases, we're just in fear, in constant fear of what the white man is going to do to us in the event that we get out of line and we start messing up. So I found this article. It's on. It's a good article. It's on Think Progress. It's on which is a liberal website. And as you know, I'm a little bit like Malcolm and Martin. I'm very what's the word, skeptical of white liberal organizations that feel too paternalistic toward Black people, who feel that we can't control our own destiny. So because remember, when Dr. King was protesting in the South, he got resistance from racists in the South, but then he went up north to Chicago to fight for labor rights, and he said that the whites in Chicago treated him worse than many of the whites in the South. So, while we, should certainly be appreciative when white liberals speak on an issue in an effective way, you have to be very careful because, unfortunately, racism is deeply embedded in our society. White supremacy is embedded everywhere, and sometimes someone may actually like you and still think they're superior to you. It's like if you work at a company, the CEO may think you're the greatest, but he doesn't think you're an equal. If you try to go sit in his desk next to him, he's going to look at you like you're crazy, right? Or if you think about the family pet. And this is when I was in Hidden Colors 4, which is Tariq Nasheed's new movie, which is coming out pretty soon. One of the points that I made was that I said, I think that there are many whites who really feel that they love Black people, but they don't respect Black people. I said, in a way, they might love Black people the way they love the family dog. The family dog is somebody that you really might appreciate, and you really love the dog, but you don't want the dog sitting with you at the dinner table. You don't treat the dog like he's actually a human being. You know that the humans are more important than the dog. So for us as Black people, part of our push toward developing our own sovereignty, self-respect, mutual respect, self-determination, all these other things comes down to kind of confronting this very subtle, very paternalistic way that some whites kind of look at us. This was the battle I had at Syracuse University when I was teaching there. I think that there were people there who really felt that, look, Negro, you should be grateful that we even gave you a shot, and so anyway, we'll go into that later. But this article, it's on thinkprogress.org, and the title is "Black People Aren't Making Things Up: The Science Behind Racial Battle Fatigue." The science behind racial battle fatigue. And basically, they're citing a study by University of Utah researcher William Smith, who coined that term, racial battle fatigue. And basically, what he describes it as is basically this mental this mental deterioration that can occur when every day you're fighting these little racial battles. Every day you're dealing with microaggressions. Every day you're dealing with a hostile work environment. Every day you're getting up and you're stepping into an economic war zone. Every day you feel like you're going into a place where you got to fight constantly, where you constantly have to be on watch. You can't trust nobody. You're coming home stressed out every day. You're always mad all the time. You get to the point where you're so angry that you feel physical symptoms, your stomach turning, head hurting, palms sweating, whatever it is, whatever your symptom is, can't sleep at night, you wish you had somebody else's life. A lot of people, a lot of us feel that way when we're on the corporate plantation. In fact, that was one of the reasons we started doing the Black Wealth Boot Camp, was because I realized, I said, there are millions of black people just like me who hate their jobs. You know, I mean, I know that feeling. I know the feeling as, see, because here's what happens. You get fed a lie. You get fed a lie from birth. The lie that you receive at birth is that if you are well behaved, if you don't act like those Negroes in prison, as they might tell you, or those Negroes that the police have to arrest, if you if you work hard, unlike all those other lazy Negroes, right? They make you feel that every black person who doesn't have success in, say, corporate America or academia or anywhere, that they're somehow just lazy. That's why they're not successful, and you're gonna be, because they're lazy and you're not. And we fall for that. We kind of believe, oh, I'm the first hardworking, intelligent black person to ever apply for this job. No, you're not. No, you're not. Your ancestors wanted the same job, and they worked just as hard, probably twice as hard as you did, but they didn't get the opportunity because those doors were white. It said white only above the door. You feel like you're trained to believe that if you get educated, if you go to a big white university, let's say, and you get these credentials and you've worked hard and you've been well behaved, that you're going to get the same opportunities as everybody else. But what's interesting is that every study pretty much shows that black people are the least likely to be hired, especially if you're a black man. If you're a black man, if you're a masculine black man, chances are you're probably going to get heavily discriminated against. You get a layer of discrimination that goes above and beyond everybody else. It goes back to the plantation. Strong masculine black men were not kept around the master because they were a threat. They were considered competition. The woman might be allowed in a little more because, it comes down to who the master thinks he can have sex with, right? Or who the master feels comfortable having by his side. In fact, there was a study that I recently read that said that the only group in America that makes the same amount of money in corporate America as white males are black gay men. And so it's no disrespect to black gay men, of course, but it's really to say that for black men who are trying to have a woman by your side, raise a family, provide for your family, protect the family, through which a lot of that protection is economic. You have to find a different strategy. Your strategy can't be what everybody else's strategy is. You can't fall for the lie. The lie is that if you assimilate appropriately, if you're well behaved, if you're well educated, if you work hard, then you're going to get the same opportunities as the white kids. Study after study shows black people do not get the jobs. Black people are usually the first to be fired. Black people end up making far less than white people do. Black people don't get the jobs that they want. There are a whole lot of college students with $100,000 in student loan debt who are out here selling shoes and working at Wendy's and doing all kinds of stuff because they can't get a job in their field. They can't get a job in their field. But here's the catch. Here's the interesting thing. If you really analyze it, it becomes what we used to call in economics. We used to call this the winner's curse. The winner's curse is when you think you won, when really you lost. You think that you got ahead when really you fell behind. What is the winner's curse? Let's say you are the Negro who gets the job. So JP Morgan Chase or some major organization makes you the first black person they've hired in a decade. So you're suddenly in this department where you are isolated. You are behind enemy lines and completely surrounded. You're the only black person out of 90 managers in that entire department. Do you really think that in a racist country that is built on structural racism, do you really believe to the core of your heart that you're going to walk in that environment and be treated fairly? No, you're not. No, you're not. Even with complete total. I mean, the only way you might have a chance of getting the same opportunities is if you completely submit to white supremacy. If you completely submit that to the idea that you have to let go of almost everything relevant about being black, almost everything relevant to the struggle of black people, in order to fit in, then maybe if you're gay or something like that, or even if you're not gay, if you're heterosexual, if you completely submit to this, keep your head down, don't get too proud. If you completely submit to white supremacy, then you might get an opportunity. But you got to also think about this, sort of shutting down and killing off a piece of who you are. It tears away at your soul. It tears away at the essence of who you are as a human being. It might even make you hate yourself every day. It certainly makes you feel the stress that comes from being muffled, not really being able to let out who you really are. I've seen corporate black people who are even scared to say things on their Facebook page because they're so scared that their white colleagues are going to read what they wrote. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go through life being scared of white people. I just don't. I'm not going to do that. And so my argument is that especially when it comes to the next generation, but also in this generation, I mean, this is what we're talking about a lot with the Black Wealth Bootcamp and the Black Business School and all that stuff. Is basically my argument is that when something tears away at you like that, you get away from it. You know, when you read this article on racial battle fatigue, what they're basically saying is that it's something I've been saying this for years, but I mean, again, I'm not a scientist, so I haven't actually measured the actual impact. But racism drives you crazy. Racism will screw up your brain. Racism can kill you. So understand that even if you quote unquote succeed, you might be walking through life feeling like somebody who has post-traumatic stress disorder because you're constantly suspicious and paranoid of any white person you interact with. You're constantly in fear of them. You might feel inferior in some ways because they're constantly telling you that you are. And you feel like you're going to work and you're going into a battle zone. And I don't think, and life is not supposed to be like that. You're not supposed to always feel like you're fighting. You know, I remember when I went to University of Kentucky for undergraduate, I was a good student. You know, I did great. I had a triple major, and I had, you know, a very high grade point average. And I did pretty much everything that a person can do as a student, you know, and I was working full time while I was there. So don't tell me you can't go to school and work full time. You can do it. You just got to manage your time. So don't let your kids get away with telling you they don't have time to work. But here's the thing. When I left that school, I didn't have hardly any friends on that campus. I had almost no desire to go back. I never participated in the reunions. I certainly don't give them money. I actually give money to Clark Atlanta University. That's the HBCU I've adopted. And, you know, I'm actually a member of their alumni association. And, you know, and I just thought about it. And I would see other people who will go to college and actually have fun, who will go to college and be happy about where they went to school. They, you know, and it was an eye opener for me. I said, wait a minute, you mean you could go to college and actually feel like you're part of the environment and not an outcast? And so that's when I began to question, you know, what integration kind of does to us in terms of making us feel that we have to be around white people in order to feel like we're more successful. So I'm not going to tell you how to live your life or what to do. I'm just going to tell you to always remember you got options. You see, when you talk about, especially when you talk about your children, when you talk about preparing your children for the future and for the economic system, understand that you can't just send your children into the lion's den. You don't send your child into the lion's den just so they can spend their lives complaining about being eaten by a lion. You can't volunteer for the lion's den and then get mad because when you walk in there, you get your leg bit off. But that's what we do. When we commit all of our hopes and dreams to the lion's den of structural racism, we prepare ourselves, we groom ourselves to walk right into the den, and then we spend our whole lives mad at white people because the lion is chewing your leg off every single day when you go to work. Don't do that. You do have options. There are ways to build your own. There are ways to go outside of that system. We just have to commit ourselves as much to this idea as we do to other things. We have to be as committed to our freedom as we are to white supremacy. We are deeply committed to white supremacy. We are deeply committed to supporting structural racism. I say in the next generation, we don't do that. With your children, just say little things to them like, every black person should have their own business. If you say that every single day, I watch when your child gets about 17, they're going to say, yeah, I want to go to college, but after that, I'm going to start my own business. You got to prepare them for something different. Unless you want them to go through all this nonsense, unless you want them to be as miserable as you were when you were going to work every day and people were treating you like crap and you knew there was nothing else you could do about it. Anyway, I'm about to get out of here. By the way, we're still on tour with Kansas City's next, and then Baltimore, and then I know I mentioned the cities earlier, then Philly, then Houston, then New Orleans, etc. You can go to the DrBoyceWatkinstour.com to find out more. Also, if you're interested in teaching wealth building to your kids, we have a program called BlackMillionairesOfTomorrow.com that you can check out. There are thousands of kids in this program, and it teaches your child the basics of financial literacy. I teach the class myself. When your child is done, your child will have a financial literacy level that will exceed the average college senior. I guarantee that there will be things that your child can answer that an average college senior would not be able to answer. And I'm not making that up. I'm not joking. I taught at the college level for over 20 years. So I know what college students know. Americans are not very financially literate. But black people, for us, financial literacy is key to our survival. We're being screwed by this economic system, and we've got to do something different. So don't just complain about it. Do something about it. Let's go fix it together. All right, guys, I'm about to get out of here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.